Hey everybody, this is Dave Little coming to you live from the Dave Cave with some updates on the channel. I was on Friday night, haven't been on since then, but this weekend was fabulous. I got a few things I want to talk about. And the first thing we're going to discuss is the Play Not Con convention that I was involved in over the weekend. Keith Avalone and the folks from PLAAY.com, Keith and his son Sam, who does all of his technical production work, did a fabulous job putting together a wonderful virtual convention. And I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about that. I know that a number of folks who watch the channel and support the YouTube streaming community have played History Maker Baseball, History Maker Golf, and some of the other Play.com games. And just a shout out to Keith and Sam and everybody involved in putting together a wonderful weekend. The weekend started off with History Maker Baseball, and it was a tournament comprised all of historical teams that finished at or around 500 for the season. 36 teams altogether. Each player was able to pick the team that they wanted to play, and Keith and his organizers put together a tournament so that everybody got to play the team they wanted to play, and they were assigned opponents based upon balancing out the schedule, making sure that all of the teams got pretty much equal play time. And then at the end, they compiled the standings and faced off for the winner. I chose, of course, the Cincinnati Reds, my longtime favorites. It was the 1971 version of the Reds. Pete Rose, Johnny Bench, Tony Perez, George Foster, Dave Concepcion were on that team. This was before Joe Morgan came over from Houston. So Lee May was the first baseman, and Bernie Carbo was the third outfielder. Good to see you, ID Jester. Just talking about the Play Not Con virtual convention that went on this weekend. So I was assigned a best 2 out of 3 game series against the 2005 Washington Nationals. Jose Guillen was the star of the show. Jose Vidro was on that team. Vinny Castilla. Fun series. The first game was started for Washington by Livan Hernandez, and he was lights out. Pitched 8 2/3 innings, 6 hits, 1 earned run, almost a complete game, but he had a little struggle in the ninth. Livan Hernandez was also the star at the plate. He doubled, he tripled, he drove in 3 of the Washington 5 runs, and it was a 5-1 win for the Nationals. Cincinnati came back in game 2 behind Don Gullett, 6 innings, only 1 unearned run. And the Reds pecked out a 3-2 victory over Washington in game 2. The Cincinnati Reds in 71 did not have a dynamic offense. The batting averages were pretty low, and they struggled to produce runs. And that proved itself again in game 3, the finale, when John Patterson faced Jim McLaughlin for Cincinnati and Washington respectively. That game was 1-1 into the 8th inning when a fielding error by Lee May allowed the go-ahead run to score for the Nationals, and they went on to win the game 3-1 and win the series 2-1. But it was a fun time, and I reported in the scores, and after all was said and done, the 2 teams that emerged as the best were the Colorado Rockies from, I believe, 97 against the 1980 Oakland A's, and they squared those 2 teams off in a championship game, and it was the Oakland A's who won that game. Ricky Henderson as the leadoff hitter, Wayne Gross. Good solid pitching. So congratulations to the 1980 Oakland A's for winning the baseball tournament in History Maker Baseball over the weekend at Play Not Con, as we say hello to our Red Sox fan. Saturday afternoon at Play Not Con was History Maker Golf, and boy was this fun. Keith put out a special golf course just for the convention. It was based on Yellowstone National Park. So you're hitting the ball over waterfalls and you're having geysers go off and you've got animals who've eaten up the green, and putting was impossible. And it was just a ridiculous comedy of misfortunes all over this golf course. And everybody played, on their own tabletop with their choice of assigned golfers based on various strengths. The guy I played with was called Iron Sharpshooter, and he was very, very good with his irons, and everything else was about average. You had the big hitter, you had the hazards master, you had all different kinds of cards, and really the cards all performed pretty well. But the funny thing about this is that we were all on the Discord server as we were playing these games, and people are just having fits on Discord left and right because people are hitting balls into the geysers and people are hitting balls that fall into the water, and just the the travails of all of the different golfers that went into that game. I played, and it was 2 rounds. My first round was a 76, 4 over, and the second round was a 4 under 68. So I finished it at even par for the 2 rounds. Did not get me onto the leaderboard. I think the winner finished at about 5 under. Several guys actually, I think the winner was 7 under. There were a couple of guys at 5 under, and then a number that came in at 4 and 3 under. So, but there were a lot of guys who had scores coming in, way up into the high numbers over par, because this course was just so ridiculous, and it was a hoot. It was great fun. Then came Sunday morning, and Sunday morning marks the debut of a brand new Play.com game. Hasn't even been released yet. It's called Fury Hardball. Fury Hardball is, I thought it was coming out today, but sometime in the very near future, Fury Hardball will be on the market. This game is nothing but fun. It's kind of a combination between baseball and cricket and wiffle ball. You've got all these fictitious teams from all over the world. I was assigned a team from San Francisco. There were teams from London and Karachi and Japan and Sydney and all over the place. We were divided up into 4 divisions of about 16 players in each division and played a round robin. I had the San Francisco team, not that that matters because they're all fictitious, but to show you how much fun this game is and how varied it is. I won my division of the 4 guys, went 3-0 against some very nice guys. Game number 2, I won 14-10. Or no, I'm sorry. Game number 2, I won 1-0. And game number 3, I won 14-10. That's the unpredictable nature of Fury Hardball. The 14-10 game was just hilarious because at the very beginning, the 2 teams got into a fight, and 2 players of each team were kicked out of the game, and you've only got 9 players to fill 6 slots. And actually 8 players to fill, 9 players to fill 7 slots. A pitcher, 2 fielders, 4 batters. The other guy that I was playing against had both of his outfielders, I believe, kicked out of the game, and he didn't have any replacement fielders, so he had to play the entire rest of the inning. It's a 1-inning game for each side, but he had to play the whole rest of the inning with nobody playing the outfield. So anytime I hit a ball into the outfield, it went for a base hit, and runs were scoring left and right. It was 14-0 by the time he got his turn at bat. And I'll be darned if that guy didn't come back with 10 runs of his own, and I was sweating it by the end. Went to the final 4 of the red champions, the red division, and I actually won the red division tournament, beating a couple of guys. The final game of the Red Division tournament was myself against my good friend Bob Hansen from Bob's Tabletop Sports. Bob, very well known and loved in the Play.com community, and friend of the channel for many of us here as well. And the game between Bob and I came down to the final out. I had the last at bats, and it was down to you get 9 outs per side. It was down to 8 outs, and I was down by a run, and my batter was one of the backup pitchers. I had to have a backup pitcher in the batting order so that I wouldn't so that I would have a fielder on the bench, so that if I lost my fielder, I could replace my fielder, and I wouldn't end up like the guy before. Hey, Steve Tower. Steve's with us. I'm just recapping the excitement from Play.com this weekend. So I've got this backup pitcher as my final out, and I'll be darned if he doesn't hit a dinger, which is worth 2 points, on just a completely random luck of the draw die roll. We were on what's called the Fury chart, and there's most of that is just easy outs, but it went from there to the pitcher's chart, and then from there to the decider die, and I had like a 2 in 6 chance on the decider die of coming up a dinger, and otherwise it was an out and end of the game and end of the tournament. And I'll be darned if the backup pitcher Xander from San Francisco didn't hit a 2-run dinger to win the championship for me in walk-off fashion over Bob Hansen. I felt bad for Bob. I immediately apologized, and no sooner did I apologize than I retracted my apology, and Bob was good with that because I really wasn't sorry to win that way. I'll take any win I can get in any situation. So that was my experience with the Fury Hardball game. When this game comes out, grab a copy. It is just a hoot. Enjoyed it very much, and in fact, just got an email from Keith. There were 4 different divisions, and they're going to try and put the 4 division winners together for a World Championship Fury Hardball series sometime later this week or in the coming weekend or something. The final event on Sunday afternoon was second season football with the great undefeated teams in college history, and this was a very, very rugged game. I picked my favorite Buckeyes, and it was the 2002 version of the Buckeyes with Maurice Clarett and Craig Krenzel at the quarterback. Michael Jenkins was the star receiver. Just a stellar defense with guys like Will Smith on the defensive line, and just a fabulous team. This was the team that beat the Miami Hurricanes in the controversial Fiesta Bowl to win the national championship. My opponent was the 1997 Michigan Wolverines, which was the team that was too dumb to start Tom Brady. They had Brian Griese starting ahead of Tom Brady, but they just had a world of talent, especially on the defense. Their defense was impenetrable. We went back and forth for 4 quarters. The Buckeyes managed 1 field goal. The Wolverines managed 3 field goals and a safety, so it was 11-3. Coming down to the final drive. We still had plenty of time left in the game, but we were running out of time in real life. So I proposed to my opponent, let's do this one last drive, and if Ohio State scores and gets a 2-point conversion, that'll tie the game at 11, and then you can have one last drive. And he agreed to that because we were running out of time, and I drove the ball down towards the goal line and just could not punch it in the end, and by this time most of the other bowl games had ended, and we had a good 10 or 12 people watching us and cheering us on, and it was just back and forth, and it was intense. And my opponent was a wonderful, great guy to play against, and Ohio State lost that game to the Michigan defense 11-3, and that Michigan defense was something else. So great weekend at the Play Not Con. Would have been great to try going to Denver and doing that in person with guys like Steve Tower and Al Wilson and Bob Hansen, and of course Keith and Sam Avalone, who do such a good job putting on that event. But for the time being, it was a wonderful virtual weekend, and maybe in 2021 we'll be able to do it once again live. So that is the update from PLAAY.con. A couple other things about the channel before I knock off. Let's see, we're at the 15-minute mark, and there's still people hanging out in the chat room, so we'll keep chatting. Also this weekend, Heartland Championship Wrestling was in action with a big show from the Dallas Sportatorium. The main event was for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, and it was Ric Flair, the champion, defeating Harley Race with a pinfall using the ropes. Typical Flair fashion, Race tried to intimidate Flair at the beginning of the match. Flair battled back, worked over the knee of Harley Race, was trying to get him set up for the figure 4 leg lock, but Race wouldn't fall for that. So Ric Flair just rolled him up and covered him and held onto the ropes and escaped with a quick 3 count to escape with the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. Also on that show, we had the Pro Wrestling Mid-American Tag Team Championship. Another epic battle between two incredible rivals, the Fabulous Freebirds, Michael Hayes and Terry Bam Bam Gordy, taking on the team of Dick the Bruiser and the Crusher. Tremendous rivalry between those two teams. Tremendous match. And it was the power of Terry Gordy who took over the match for the Freebirds and pinned the Crusher after a huge powerbomb. So a successful title defense for the Fabulous Freebirds this past Saturday night at the Sportatorium in Dallas. Next weekend is Heartland Championship Wrestling pay-per-view, which is unfortunate because my lovely wife unfortunately mistimed her birthday to coincide with a Heartland Championship Wrestling pay-per-view. So of course we'll do the birthday thing on Saturday. I don't know if I'll be able to get wrestling live on the channel, but that's another pay-per-view broadcast of Heartland Championship Wrestling. The pay-per-view is entitled "Pray for the Wicked," and the theme song, of course, the fabulous song from Panic at the Disco, "Say Amen Another Saturday Night." And if you haven't checked out that music video, that is hilarious. Main event will be Jay Lethal defending the Ring of Honor Heavyweight Championship against Michael Elgin. Should be a good match there. Elgin earned that title match by winning the independent tournament at the Galacticon virtual convention a few weeks back, and he is cashing in his title match against Jay Lethal this Saturday at the pay-per-view. Coming up on the tabletop this week is the 1980 Tournament Players Championship from Sawgrass. Getting ready to kick that off here in just a few moments. Jerry Pate and Bob Murphy are your co-leaders in that event. Jerry Pate is the leading money winner on the tour so far in the Epic Golf Association. But I don't know if I'll ever take History Maker Golf onto my channel because there are so many other players who play it so well. I'm just getting started with this and learning the mechanics of it, having a great time with it. I will be back on the channel on Friday night with action from the Epic Basketball League as the New York Knicks take on the Chicago Bulls. The 1971-72 version of the New York Knicks was so exciting with Walt Frazier and Earl the Pearl Monroe. They're off to a 4-1 start in the Epic Basketball League, chasing, of course, the Los Angeles Lakers for the leadership in the Gold Division. And the Bulls are right behind them, featuring Chet Walker, 25 points per game for the Bulls. So that will be live on the channel on Friday night. And of course, on Sunday morning, I'll be back with My Journey with Jesus. This week, we're going to talk about God's holiness as we continue our discussions of the attributes of God. So that is everything from the Epic Sports Broadcasting Network, your update on PLAAY.con, and a fabulous time. Thank you again for all of the great action from Keith Avalone and a cast of many people that contributed to make that a wonderful event. So that's the recap there. We'll see you Friday night for Epic Basketball League action. And until then, fans, that's our stream, and I am out of here.